Hello, BookTube. I have a little mail haul for you. The last few mail hauls I've filmed have not gone well, which is why you haven't seen them, because I haven't uploaded them, because they devolved into rants, into explicitly political rants of a type that bore even me, so certainly they would bore you. I'm going to try and be on my best behavior with this one, so that we don't fall too far behind with books that are arriving here at Hyde Cottage. And one one of these books is actually kind of funny. I'm having a guest over tonight for a little festive get together, and so I had to go out to the co-op one street over just to get a few things, and I did, and I had company. And when we were walking back, just a minute. It's a minute that you're outside. When we were walking back, a car pulled up next to us on the sidewalk, and one of my regular mail truck drivers got out with a package. He'd spotted me on the sidewalk, and he was at work, and he was just getting off work when he noticed one last package come from me, and he figured since my place is on the way home, he would drop it off, but then he saw me on the sidewalk and just sort of said, "Hey, how's it going?" and handed it to me. The person I was walking with said, "You leave the house and people just hand you books?" I was about to correct him, and I thought, no, that's almost true. So we've got a smallish, but maybe a good mail haul here. It ends with a box, so we'll see. And one thing that that I should remind you of, something I don't say often enough, which is my standard patter here. If you see a book among these or in any of these mail hauls that you might like to try your hand at reviewing, I am an editor at Open Letters Review, the successor to Open Letters Monthly, and we have a very good masthead, including some booktubers you probably know and subscribe to. And we're always looking for new reviewers. It's an open door to try your hand at reviewing books. With the small caveat being that there is a right way and there is a wrong way to try that. And not necessarily the writing itself, but just the making the first overture. There's a right way and a wrong way to do it. What you want to do, since in this context, although I am a friendly presence, in BookTube every day that you see and talk to, in this context, I am your editor. What you want to do is send me a message, introduce yourself, say what you want to do and why you want to do it, and then we'll put our heads together and come up with a plan. What you don't want to do is make me pull teeth, which I am. If you send me an email that consists of one word, the title of the book you might want to review, no hello, no discussion, no goodbye, nothing, just that one word, any editor in the entire world would ignore that. And the ones that didn't just put it completely out of their mind would, before they did that, make a mental note of your name. It wouldn't be in a good way. But I, of course, I'm not a normal editor. I'm a little friendlier than most editors are. If I see that one word and I write back to you and say, "Hey, great to hear from you. Can I assume from this one word that this is the title of a book you might want to review?" And you don't get the hint from that email, and your response to my response is the single word yes. Again, no greeting. Again, no farewell. Again, no context of any kind. Let's let this video be my formal declaration that at that point I'm going to drop you like a hot brick, and no subsequent emails will be responded to, even if they are right. The point I'm trying to make here being, Open Letters Review is the successor to a 10-year-old literary journal that's been blurbed on many, many, many books, mentioned in many literary journals. And Open Letters Review itself has a masthead that includes Ivy League grad students, some of the sharpest critics, young critics in the business, 2 professional book critics, and a published author. So the point I'm trying to make is that when I say, if you see any of these books that you might like to try your hand at reviewing, you should let me know. What I am doing is offering you a favor. You are not doing me a favor. I am doing you a favor. I'm perfectly happy to do it, unless you make me pull teeth. If you do that, then all bets are off. Because it's not just the favor of opening a door to the world of critical reviewing, although publishers and publicists and authors and editors notice open letters. So it's a small door, but it's a noticeable one. We get onto book covers. It's not just that. Once we settle on a book, I'm almost certainly going to acquire it for you, go to the post office, spend money to mail it to you, and if we're being brutally honest here, the odds are I'm then going to teach you how to review it. Now, all of that I'm perfectly willing to do, but not as your servant. Okay, so now we have that clear. I will let a year lapse before I bring it up again. Just keep in mind, we want a conversation here because I'm offering you a favor. So if your opening gambit in the email that you send me is to tell me, well, you know, I got classes and I work full time. I might be able to do something for you. I'll see what I can do. Just send me these 6 books and we'll go from there. Don't. Save both of us the trouble. And don't. But anyway, all right, now that we've covered that, let's see what we have here for today's mail. And I will try hard to be good so that I don't have to just delete this video. Okay, so this is a finished copy of something I think we saw before on this channel. I think this comes out any day now. Yeah, this comes out in early May. So my May shelf, the spring shelves are just blooming. This is by Laura Jacobs, and it is Celestial Bodies. It's a look at ballet. No bloody ballet. And ballet I do not understand at all. I do not know anything about it at all. So, for instance, this would be a perfect example of the kind of book where realistically speaking, there are probably a couple of hundred people watching me right now, watching this video. If one of you is passionate about ballet and loves it, maybe does it or has done it, this would be a perfect book for you to try your hand at, because the subject matter wouldn't be intimidating. It would only be the act of reviewing for an audience that might be intimidating, and I can help you with that. But unfortunately, this is also a perfect example of the kind of book that it would be almost useless to me if I don't find a freelancer, because reviewing it myself, it would be obvious that I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about on a fairly large amount of subjects, but ballet is not one of them. So let's move on. Let's see what this next one is. Oh, good. Oh, this is, wow. Okay, so this we've seen on this channel before. This is from Harvard University Press in paperback, and this is something that we're going to have to get used to here on this channel. This is Dante by Manto Santagata. This is his English language translation of his 1-volume life of Dante. And the reason what we're going to have to get used to is this is the paperback release of something that we saw in advance, then in a finished copy, and now a paperback. So we have seen almost the whole lifespan of this book. The only thing that would be left is if this channel is still around in 20 years and somebody reprints this. then we would have seen literally the whole cycle. This was quite good, but I'm glad to have it in a paperback. That's wonderful. I also reviewed it, but so did everybody else, and my review was a little bit lukewarm, so I bet I'm not blurbed. No, of course. Okay, but that's all right, because everybody ended up reviewing this thing. It was just the right time. It's a perfect thing that sometimes happens in the book world, where it'll just be the right time. You'll have, every editor has either a mental or an actual Rolodex where they have names of people, and next to those names they have pet subjects. That so-and-so is good for the Italian Renaissance, so-and-so is good for Beowulf, so-and-so is good for W.B. Yeats, and sometimes the synergy just brings those together, and all of a sudden a book like this will get covered everywhere, because everyone has tapped their person that has Dante next to their name, and they've all said yes at the same time. That's wonderful, though. I'm glad to have the paperback. That's great. All right, let's move on here. We're doing fine. The rant at the beginning is one I stand by. That one has to be said anyway. At least it's not about politics, so that's good. All right, so this is another paperback release. This is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I believe we saw this on this channel as well. This is, what have we got here? This is a paperback that also comes out in May. This is, let me hold up the black and white cover for you. This is the debut novel by M.L. Rio, who spent her life obsessed with one man, William Shakespeare. This passion has led her to work in theaters, perform on stage, earn her master's in Shakespeare studies at King's College in London, and even spend a night in Hamlet's famed castle at Elsinore. I don't know how many other booktubers there are aside from myself who have also done that. Where she was the first person to stay in a century. No. Praised for its subtle wit, thrilling twists, and fascinating characters, If We Were Villains shows Rio's love for the bard in her dramatic use of comedy and tragedy. On the day Oliver Marks is released from jail, the man who put him there is waiting at the door. Detective Colburn wants to know the truth, and after 10 years, Oliver is finally ready to tell it. 10 years ago, Oliver was one of 7 young actors at Delchester Classical Conservatory, a fiercely competitive school where the acting students only perform Shakespeare. Entering their 4th and final year, Oliver and his friends come to realize that they always seem to play the same roles on stage and off. Charming James, hero. Cunning Alexander, villain. Fiery Meredith, temptress. Sweet Wren, ingenue. And Richard, true to his name, the tyrant. Oliver and Philippa are always relegated to the roles of secondary characters in someone else's story. But when the casting changes, good-natured rivalries take on a sinister turn. I remember this, and I liked it. I don't think I blurbed on this one either. No, I'm not. Okay, but that doesn't matter, because this is another good example of something that comes up on this channel all the time now. Oh, wow, this is out already. This is another good example of something that comes out all the time on this channel, which is, this is where I get my rereading in. I have as much of a sweet tooth for rereading as anybody else, and I used to get used books by the bagload at the Goodwill or charity shops or the Brattle Bookshop here in Boston. And more as time goes on, my rereading happens with things like this, or the Santagata Dante, where the publishers are giving me things to reread. I don't know if that's good or bad, but I like it. Let's see, what is this next one? Oh, great, okay. This is from Soho Press. This is out already, I believe. Now, this comes out today. This is something I never got. I don't think I ever got this in advance copy. This is Your Android Dog Will Die by Aria Greenwood, with a cover covered in dogs. Dogs, don't you love them? Don't you wish you could live with them still? Friends, we are very excited to tell you you can. 17-year-old Nano Miller was born and raised on Dog Island, home to Mechanical Tail, the company behind lifelike replacement for man's best friend. The island is also home to the last living dogs, all but extinct, when a global genetic experiment went awry and canines stopped wagging their tails. Mass hysteria ensued and the species was systematically euthanized. Here, they are studied in a natural and feral state. This seems like fun with the author, with her non-mechanical dog. Wonderful. Okay, let's do this one here, and then we'll finish up with a box. And it's smooth sailing so far. I can upload what I've done so far. That's great. Okay, so what have we got here? Okay. This is from Farstash and Giroux. This comes out in August. It is Severance by Ling Ma, with an American cover. I believe that smudge is supposed to be intentional. Okay, so evocative. I don't know where to start. Let's see. In this novel is a comedic office novel, a moving coming-of-age tale for the millennial generation, and an immigration narrative about a young woman making her way after the death of her mother. It is also a post-apocalyptic road adventure with zombies. Well, sort of. Okay. So you're either on board with that description, or your first reaction is going to be, if it has all of those things, then it does none of them well. Candace Chen is a first-generation Chinese-American 20-something who, like so many of her peers, decides to move to New York after graduating from college. In the city, she falls into a steady office job coordinating the production of Bibles, acting as a liaison between U.S.-based publishers and an array of printers in Southeast Asia and China. After work, she and her boyfriend spend their nights in Brooklyn, watching movies from a mattress on the floor of his basement apartment. This routine existence is eventually disrupted, however, with the arrival of Shen fever, a mysterious fungal infection contracted through the inhalation of harmful spores, which leaves its victims as vacant, deteriorating bodies repeating rote movements in an endless loop. As the outbreak spreads, Candace takes a big payout to keep working in her Manhattan office, even as the MTA rolls back subway service and most of Candace's co-workers flee the office and the city. When life in New York finally becomes untenable, Candace herself escapes for the country, where she falls in with a band of survivors who get along by Googling things like how to survive in the wild. That's good. In the company of this ragtag group, Candace slowly makes her way to a rumored survival facility outside Chicago, which turns out to be something rather different than promised. And Ling Ma is a graduate of the MFA program at Cornell University and a lecturer in the English department at the University of Chicago. And is this her debut? Yes, it is. This is her debut novel. Oh, good for her. Okay, so this comes out in mid-August. That redeemed itself there in the description. I will definitely read it now. And then we've got the box, and then we'll be done. Let's see here. I'm keeping an eye on the clock because I do have a guest coming over. Otherwise, you would have my undivided attention. What have we got here? What is this? It's another paperback original, also in May. Huh. This is A Million Drops by Victor Del Arbol. Huh. Nice meaty thing from Other Press. Let's see here. Award-winning Spanish author and master of international crime fiction, this author takes readers on an enthralling journey through Spain's fascist and communist history. As a paperback original. Suspenseful and shocking, A Million Drops is a dark story of enduring love and revenge that skillfully weaves between two interconnected timelines. That of a son, Gonzalo Gil, unraveling the truth of his father in modern-day Barcelona, and the story of the father, alias Gil, a young engineering student trapped in the violence of Soviet Russia and the Spanish Civil War, who goes on to become a leader of the resistance against fascism. And the author was born in Barcelona, spent 5 years as a seminarian at Our Lady of Montalegre, and later studied history at the University of Barcelona. As the recipient of the Nadal Prize, the Tiflos Prize, and the first Spanish author to win the Prix de Polar European, he has distinguished himself as a notable voice in Spanish literature. Okay, those of you in Spain, is that true? Do you know this book in its original? He is particularly interested in giving a voice to the many people that history has forgotten. Okay, great. Nice to know your politics. If you expect your politics to save your fiction, you've come to the wrong shop. But maybe he doesn't. Let's see. So he also wrote The Sadness of the Samurai. This is translated from the Spanish by Lisa Dillman, and it came out in 2014 in Spain as Un Millón de Gotas. So I'm curious to know, those of you in Spain, if you know this book, and was it a big deal? Was there hoopla? Not that it matters. Not that it matters in the long run. I will read it anyway. Great. Okay, this was fiction heavy, wasn't it? So we've got an international sensation. Then we've got Severance by Ling Ma, which the more I think about that plot description, the more I want to read the book. We'll have to see. The execution will be everything. With a zombie novel, the execution is everything. Then Your Robot Dog Will Die. Enough said. Then If We Were Villains, a Shakespeare novel. A Shakespeare drama novel. I don't think Shakespeare is in this book. Then Dante, the paperback of the latest Dante biography in English. And then Celestial Bodies, a book about ballet. No bloody ballet. So there you go. That's a varied mail haul as usual. So I'm gonna sign off for now and pretty myself up. But I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.